Wendy, let me start with you. You play a character which someone describes in it as something along the lines of a cranky old goat. And I'm wondering, as an actress, is that a fun type of role to play?
Yeah. I mean, I have been drawn my whole career to women who are either missing a link or have some kind of neuroses or yeah, it's just way more interesting to play. I never was much of an ingenue. But I'd never seen a cranky old goat. I thought, well, there's all kinds of things I guess you could do with that. And it was very freeing for me to not be like a glamour puss in any way. Usually
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that in the characters I've played. And this one was very down and dirty. And I got to bring some of my own favorite soft flannel shirts and wear overalls and have just a ponytail, a gray old haggy kind of thing. So no, I took the suggestion that she was kind of an old witch and decided to run with it.
Genevieve, your character is very tightly wound, I guess would be a nice way of putting
I
it.
think that is a good way of describing it. Tightly wound, yes.
And
I
I'm
like to say
wondering,
high maintenance but high performance.
yes, she's very demanding, and maybe not the most self-aware sometimes, I would suspect. Um,
Huh.
It's like she's gone to therapy, but only to a point.
yeah.
Still got
until they,
work to do.
until they start talking about her problems, and then maybe
Correct.
wasn't really into that. I'm just curious, for you from an acting standpoint, you really sort of have to get those early episodes right because it is a very repressed sort of anger right at the below level, surface level, but you also want to be likable enough that 4 episodes in, people aren't saying, oh man, I don't want to see this character anymore.
This is such an incredibly astute observation you're making, and I really appreciate it. I think the first couple of episodes are always the most challenging because you're figuring out what the world is that you're in. You've never seen an episode of your own show, so you don't know like exactly what kind of tone you're striking. But my hunch is that anything that's played truly, like how would I actually behave in this scenario? What would this actually make me do? Compels empathy from the viewer, because if you're behaving like a real person, people sympathize with that, even if the way that you're behaving is, not particularly like evolved, right? Exactly. So I just find that rather than trying to be funny, to try to be real and hope to get funny on the way.
Now, what do you rely on in those early episodes? Are you talking to someone about, hey, am I in the right spot? Or are you sort of going by feel and how it's going with the rest of the cast? How do you navigate that?
I mean, I can only speak on behalf of myself, and everyone does it differently, but I will shout out, I have a friend who is an utter and absolute genius, and I run everything by them. We talk about every scene and the arc of it and what it is that I want to do in order to tell the story in the most compelling, interesting, unexpected, complicated, funny, vulnerable way possible, where you kind of go the farthest distance from point A to point Z. And I just rely on my pal to get me ready for set, so that if something, if I haven't slept or I'm having a bad day or whatever, I have a plan and then can just kind of throw it all away and be spontaneous and listen to people like Ms. Wendie Malick.
Wendy, for your character, I think the moment when I knew Gus was going to be really interesting was when they opened the closet and you're standing in there with the closet with the guy. And like, okay, there's more to this character than we think.
It's actually a
there is.
fridge.
It was a walk-in refrigerator.
Yeah.
Oh, fridge, okay.
Freezer.
So you open the door and I was like, okay, there's some backstory here and there's some stuff going on, what was it like, the two of you, your characters, very, like a lot of mother-daughter sort of things, very contentious, very, and it really gets back to that being contentious, but then also portraying that there is a love there somewhere, that you may have forgotten, but it is there, and sort of hitting those moments of reminding the audience, oh yeah, they don't hate each other. They just mom and daughter hate each other.
Yeah, we push each other's buttons, and I think, I see a lot of myself in my daughter here, and I think that it's that weird dynamic of you only really truly hurt the ones you love. It's like the people that you are closest to can get the most easily bruised. And, we all are dealing with something of an emotional deficit. And I grew up sort of on my own in this show. My mother died when I was young, and I surrounded myself with stuff to feel safe. And that, unfortunately, got in the way of me being a real nurturing mother to my daughters, who eventually left me. But there's a lot going on with Gus that you don't know about at the beginning. There are little hints of that something else is happening here that we don't know about yet, and that is revealed over the course of the season.
I just think that this was the gift of casting and writing. The writing really does the work of the conflict for me, and in having been delivered Wendie Malick, that really takes care of the love. So, honestly, it's when your days at work are kind of like days at work and kind of like play dates, it's really a gift. And I would say that a lot of this just kind of got handed to me. Yeah.
Well, let me, I'll throw this out to both of you. As I've talked to other people who worked on Hallmark projects, actresses, one of the things that you talk about is how nice it is to be in a show where you're surrounded by other women, you're playing roles that aren't just two-dimensional, mother, girlfriend, wife sort of things. I'm assuming maybe that was part of what attracted you to this project.
Absolutely. I mean, the women who wrote it and are on the crew, and these 4 women leads. I had a feeling we were in for a special kind of lovely thing, and I'm particularly grateful to Hallmark for letting us make this a little more complex. These characters are very multidimensional, and some of it goes rather dark, and we go into some heartbreaking moments in this, but it's also very funny and quite edgy at times. And I think this was kind of a leap for Hallmark to take on this story and let us tell the story the way we wanted to. And we were given a great deal of freedom to do that.
Genevieve, I'm curious, when you saw the final episodes, what was your reaction? Were there any moments where you thought, "Oh, I this didn't hit me that way when we were doing it, but I really like this"?
Without giving too much away, I think, gosh, I really don't know how to answer this question without sort of telling you what happens. All I can say is, yes. And also, yes. And also, I think what I enjoyed episode after episode was that the unbelievable talent behind the camera, Annie Mae Bain from Shrinking and Atypical, and was also working with her lifelong best friend, Erin Gibson, who is the head of our writer's room, who is one of the most wildly dangerous, bold comedians, podcast hosts working today. And people wouldn't necessarily know that Erin Gibson is one of the central voices on the show and wrote episode 7. So I just was so excited. I didn't even know that she was involved when I signed on. And to find that out was like opening a puppy under the Christmas tree. I was so excited. So yes, is the answer to your question.
When you've worked on a lot of different shows, a lot of different projects over the years. And I think most times from talking to actors, they take away something from each show, an experience or something that they enjoyed or whatever it might be. And I'm just wondering, you've done one season now. What, if you had to look back, what was something you took away from the show? Either a nice experience or just something you learned about yourself or just whatever it happened to be?
I think after wrapping this one, I realized I am more grateful for this project maybe than I've ever been, because it's that we, having longevity in this business is such a blessing, and it's so rare. And I am so incredibly grateful that I get to continue to do the thing I love. But each time I go out, I find something wonderful to be grateful for. But this one, I think because we were away for 3 months, and I haven't done that for a long time, being away from your family and friends and your animals and all of that. We bonded in a very particular way. On weekends, we would see each other, and we'd go to Skylar's house usually on Sundays and do potluck dinners. And but we really chose to spend our free time together as well as the time we spent on set. So this one, I think, had a particular sweetness to it because we were so immersed in this world and in this beautiful Vancouver area, which is so gorgeous in the summer. So I think I just feel the deepest sense of gratitude for this, and that just gets deeper as I get older. I think I just realize when you're closer to the exit door than you are to the entrance, I think everything takes on a little added meaning. And so for me, I just thank my lucky stars every day, and being able to work with these incredible women was just a real gift.
Well, thank both of you for your time. I really enjoyed the 3 episodes I got to see, and looking forward to watching the rest of it. Good luck with this.
Thank you.
Thanks.